And we'll call the meeting to order. Kevin, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Babcock?
Here.
Mrs. Sweet?
Here.
Mr. Bear?
Here.
Mr. Whitaker?
Here.
Mr. Avery? Mr. Hannah?
Well, council does have a quorum, so please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is the regular session of the Enon Village Council, and this is Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022. Any additions to the agenda? I have one communication regarding the Planning Commission. Any other items that need to be added?
Yes, sir. Report for the public service meeting.
Public service, Mrs. Sweet. And anything else?
I'll move to excuse Mr. Avery and Mr. Hannah from the meeting this evening.
I'll second.
So that motion was made by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mr. Bear. And call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
So that motion passes. Approval of the minutes from the August 9th meeting. We will postpone that until we have those four members present that were at that meeting to make those minutes official by their approval. And I want to thank Mr. Hannah for running that meeting. Mrs. Sweet and I were at, I can't remember the name of it. It's a school meeting.
Strategic planning.
Go ahead.
Strategic planning
Yeah.
committee for the school
Yes.
district.
So, and I think we have one more that's going to be in conflict.
Correct.
So, let's look at the finances. And we have something interesting that happened this time. I was talking to Jeremy here just a minute ago about that as chair of the finance. Well, let's look at the cash summary by fund first. We'll go over that report, and that's just the one pager. General fund, we have approximately $186,000. Street construction, $67,000. Let's go down to our police levy. We've got $352,000 there, $113,000 in the water fund, $110,000 in the contingency, and let's see, in our ARPA fund, about $135,000. If you go to the next report, this one will be the interesting one for revenue status. If you look on that top line for real estate tax money collected, we had in the final budget almost $164,000. Well, we didn't make it. We actually collected $153,000, which left a deficit of close to $11,000. So Laura and I had a conversation today about that to figure out where that deficit was at. And what she discovered, and I don't know that I've ever seen this before, to be honest with you, the figures that were sent to the auditor's office, which would have been last August for this time period, was $150,186. That was our anticipated revenue. We brought in $152,000, almost $153,000. However, in February of this year, and let me get this right, it's called the Budget Commission of Clark County, revised that anticipated tax revenue and brought it up to almost $164,000. That's where that $163,797 came from. So they, as the commission, anticipated we were going to bring in more revenue from property taxes. when Laura gets back from vacation, I am going to ask her to look into this and find out why they did it. Jeremy and I talked a little bit, and it might have been because they thought that reevaluations may have been done, and we all know that property tax or property values have gone up. So in anticipation of that, maybe that's why they did it. But I got to be honest with you, I don't know. But we're going to find out. So, but for Laura's sake, her initial estimate, which would have been what was brought to council, we would have actually collected about $2,000 more than we anticipated. So she would have been pretty much right on the nose. So overall, that's going to, for the amount that we have received to date, it's going to affect that. So we're about 80%. So that's on the bottom of page 1. Going to page 2, street construction, maintenance and repair, we've received about 57%. That's a little bit low, and I would suspect that probably the monies for August have not all been receipted yet. So I suspect when we see that end of month report for August, which we will have next month in September, we'll be right on track there. Usually that's pretty close. On page 3, under the police levy, the special revenue, the exact same thing happened. Laura estimated that we would receive a little over $308,000. We actually received $312,000. The Budget Commission revised that number to $333,000, which is what you see was listed. So we end up showing a deficit of $21,000. So again, we'll find out what the reasoning was behind that. And again, I just don't think I've ever seen it before. So that bottom line percent for revenue collected, that 89% is obviously going to be affected by that as well. So if you go to page 4, we'll look at water operating, and we're about 59% there, and that does not include collections for the month of August, so we will be right on track by the time that end of month report comes due. Total of all funds on page 5, we're about 70%. And the last report is the appropriation status report. And looking at the bottom lines there on page 2 for the general fund, we've spent about 71% of what we have appropriated in that fund, and that is a little high, and I think that's due to Laura. It looks like she has depleted the personnel services and some associated things with the police department out of the general fund, so that will switch over all to the police levy. If we go to the street construction and repair fund, we're about 54% that has been spent. Over to page 4, under the police levy, we spent about 57% of what we had appropriated. And then on that last page, for the water, we've spent about 65%. So we're right on the nose there. Overall, about 63% has been spent. But we'll have all the final numbers again for that first meeting in September.
I mean, not that it's, we're in a rush or anything, but we still have 134 in the ARPA funds. Do we have, what is our plan for that?
And I think at this point, if I remember one of our last conversations, it's like, let's see what happens with that South Xenia Street project. I think that is going out to bid, and Dave, you probably know more about it than I do since you were at the meeting. I think that is going to go out to bid soon, so we should at least have a handle through Clark County of what that project is going to cost. So that could be a possible use for those funds.
Yeah, I mean, John's, tried to delay it some, but, I've been pushing that he not, because one of his concern is, blacktop pricing. I
Right.
said, well, I don't know that that's gonna get any better, John. So, it could get worse. If you look at, well, I don't have the funds right now, well, there are ARPA funds that can be used. And then obviously the village, if we have to do something, this is a critical need for the village. We need to do something. So, both he and, his name just escapes me. But they're looking into it too.
Okay.
The new director. And I can see his face, I'm just missing it.
And that's the problem that we're facing right now. When you try to bid a project, what are these contractors going to give you as far as prices go? So if it ended up that we spent part of that money or all of it on that project, we know how important it is. We also have other ideas out there, but I think that's probably the number one hanging right now. So
All right, thanks.
you're welcome. Under communications, so Monday morning we had a planning commission meeting, and that was case 22-02. We don't usually have too many cases in one year, but we've got two this year already. And we'd had a request from Mr. Joe Smalden, and this was in regards to a couple of properties. The old car lot there on West Main Street, it has an address of 106 West Main Street, and then the property just north and adjacent to that at 77 North Green Street. And the request was the shape of the lot where the old car lot was located, which is on Main Street, was irregular shape. It had a piece that was attached to it years ago, and what he was proposing before the commission was to square both of those lots up, to have the property lines moved and create two regular lots instead of two irregular lots. And the planning commission agreed that that would be in the best interest of everybody. It's the desire overall of the village not to have irregular shaped lots. We like to have everything nice and squared up. And somewhere in the zoning, I couldn't find it the other day, but somewhere in the zoning, it does talk about that. It's not necessarily a requirement, but it's one of those things that we would like to see that. So that's what this does, and it squares those two lots up, and the planning commission was fine with that. There is a 5-day period that anybody that would be aggrieved by the decision of the planning commission to file notice of intent that they would like to appeal that decision. So we're going to wait 5 days, and then at the next meeting, the first meeting in September, we will be asking for approval from the council with the planning on the decision from the planning commission, and then we can go ahead and sign off on his paperwork for him. So, but it was a good meeting, it was a good discussion, and I think that was the right thing to do. Any other items of communication? Kevin, I'll turn it over to you then. Oh, I'm sorry.
Public service?
We'll do that under
We'll do that
committee.
under committee reports.
Oh, okay. That's sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, council, residents. First item there on my list. The application for the Transportation Improvement Program was submitted on the 17th of August, once again for the Main Street project, the intersection, street lights, traffic lights, things like that. Naturally, with everything going up, this project did too as well. So it's right at $2.1 million now. But we did go ahead and submit that application, had choice one just update the figures and submit it for us. So that's been submitted to TCC. So Jason had a couple wells tested and for flow and things like that. And after the results come back, it's come to our attention that at least one well, if I'm correct, needs cleaned out. So he reached out to Boone Water Systems and Moody's of Dayton to get two quotes to clean one well. Boone came in at $36, and Moody's came in at $18,350. Moody's will be coming in again to retest well number 1 and 3 because during their test they used the wrong kind of piping, wrong size of piping. Is that correct, Jason? Wrong size of piping they used, if I'm telling it right?
Yeah, their testing equipment was not accurate, in our opinion. Talking with Brent Huntsman from Terran Corporation, they're going to look at retesting for us to make sure the results are accurate.
So they're going to come back in hopefully next week and do that retest free of charge. And but I would so then we'll see which well is the worst that needs cleaned first, either 1 or number 3. But at this point, I'd like council's blessing or motion to proceed with Boone Water since they're considerable cheaper.
So just a little bit of information. We have not cleaned a well in several years. It's probably been 4 or 5, maybe 6. Is that right? Close? Closer to 6. So it's not untypical to clean a well maybe every year or every other year or every third year. So what these flow tests provide for us is the information that our water staff can look at and see what the capacity of that well is. When you start seeing a history that they're dropping off, that's a need for those to be cleaned. So we need to have one of them done this year, and it's probably going to be well number 1, maybe well 2. But with that said, we have been very fortunate over the last 6 years that we haven't had anything clean. So it's due.
Have we used either of those companies before, or is there any difference between the two?
I think we've used Boone quite a bit. I mean,
My preference would be Boone,
Okay.
to be honest with you.
Okay.
we've worked with them. I mean, in a couple times since I've been there, just testing and things.
Very reputable.
Right. I remembered the name. I just didn't know if there was a preference, or if the preference was for the higher bid, then why?
Yeah,
Sure.
no.
Okay. I'm good with that.
So we'd probably entertain a motion if we could to approve that bid for $16,000 with Boone Water Company? Boone Water Company? Water drilling? Whatever it is.
Boone Water Systems.
Water systems.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call the roll. Motion made by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mrs. Sweet. Now call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
All right, thank you. In your packet, I sent you a diagram, or actually an aerial of Mud Run Creek back there right off of Galloway Park. Depicted in the picture, we do have a 12-inch water line that goes to Cardinal Tank, and that's shown by the dotted line. It crosses under the creek there. So the situation with that creek, as it comes around on the solid black line and the X, we have a valve there and a fire hydrant. That embankment is kind of washing out and getting close to exposing our water valve, and is in kind of immediate need of repair. I contacted 2 construction companies, one Outdoor Enterprise, and the other one was Meads Construction, and had met both them back there and showed them what was happening, what was needed. We're thinking we can put in the basketball-sized riprap they call along that bank to kind of ward off any further erosion of that bank.
Or you're going to expose the water main if you don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I called the Corps of Engineers, and they said, since it's on our property, since you're not changing the flow of the water, since you're not impeding the water, you're actually doing repair work. They don't need to be notified, but it was nice that we did kind of let them know what was going on. He did suggest to reach out to Mike, the flood manager there at Clark County, They said that he probably wouldn't have no problem with it either, or any jurisdiction, but I will reach out to him as well, just to keep him informed on what's going on. Once again, they said since you're just repairing it and not changing anything, there's no problem with it, so. The outdoor enterprise came in at $6,800. That's the riprap and their labor to get it back there and place it. And Mead's construction came in at $5,800, and that's as well with their labor and the cost of the riprap. So with that, I'd like to ask council for permission to proceed with Mead's construction to get this scheduled and repaired.
And we've worked with Mead before on other projects, correct?
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Yes, we have. They're a construction and paving company and stuff. He
Yep.
does
So we
this kind
have
of work.
some history with them. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll move forward with Meads to make the repair.
I'll second.
Again, motion by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mrs. Sweet. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
That motion passes.
Next on is in your packet, the electric rates. That was updated as of today. Naturally, they're only good to the end of the day, but that gives you some kind of visual to see what they're doing. Aspen Energy has their rates there listed in your email, 12-month to 60-month, and Integrity Energy has theirs from 59 months to, or 12 months to 59 months as well. I know been looking at the 60-month range, so 60-month with Aspen Energy is 0.07216, and Integrity is 0.07742 for 59 months, and then you can kind of see where it goes from there. But rates are going up again, and our contract's coming up here next month. So, and these rates, he can't lock these in. They can be locked in as of tomorrow, whatever there are. Once we decide who we go with, and then that will start on our October billing cycle.
So they started going up, and then they leveled out, and then they started coming down. Timing is everything, obviously, and it's, there's some guesswork, but right now, they're like they're kind of edging up a little bit. Okay,
Inching up a little bit, yes.
gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
So, and obviously, we need to act now anyways.
So, and I did, present, or you got an ordinance for each one. If you want to do anything tonight, then that's up to council, so.
What was our current rate? I know you told us. a couple-
3.
Zero, on the electric bill, it says 0.42.
Oh, was it 4.2?
Yeah.
For 60 months?
We were in I might have to look it up. I think it was a 4-year contract, the last time when we signed up.
Yeah, I think we did do a 48.
48.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, they've went up
It's not double, but
very
it's,
considerably since last time.
Nearly doubled.
And ours is up in October. Ours is up the end of
September.
September.
Yep.
I mean, I would hate to keep waiting around, see what the rates do. But
I agree. They went up, they leveled out, they came down, they're starting to go back up.
because last week they were 0.67, I think, or 0.067 is what you'd sent us. Or no, maybe Dave found that one.
8 on August the 12th, 60-month was 0.069.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
15th you'd sent to us, 60-month through Aspen was 0.067, so
Yep,
it's gone
so
up.
Keep going, it's going up, so.
Right. I mean, is there any difference in the delivery? It probably doesn't matter who we
Nope.
go with.
Nope.
Okay.
And there's no extra charges with either of them. I noticed it on some of the apples to apples charts. There was, some people was charging $10 a month extra, clear up to $50 a month extra, just for certain fees that they had, so.
Crazy.
But there's no hidden fees with either of these companies, so.
But at this point, Aspen's half a cent less.
Right.
Yep.
So, don't know why we'd want to go higher.
I'll make a motion to go with Aspen Energy for 60 months.
And I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Whitaker and seconded by Mr. Babcock. Any further discussion? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes, for Aspen.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
All right.
Kevin, do they need will a motion do for them? Are they okay with that, or will they need an actual ordinance?
We probably need to pass an ordinance.
Well, let's just do it
But
tonight then.
that's-
Let's just get it done. Let's see which one is which here.
They're both numbered 03.
They are
Yeah,
both
they're all,
numbered.
yeah.
That was a really good idea, though. You're thinking
let's
ahead.
That is a real good idea.
That's the next in line, number 3.
So you've got emergency ordinance number 2022-03, an ordinance authorizing the village administrator of the Village of Enon, Ohio to enter into an agreement with Aspen Energy Corporation for the supply of electric for all the village-owned accounts and to sign all required documents for said agreement and declaring an emergency. So we would need a motion to suspend the 3 reading rule.
So moved.
I'll
Set.
second.
Got it.
Moved by Mrs. Sweet, seconded by Mr. Babcock. And call the roll.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
And we would need a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2022-03.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Babcock, seconded by Mr. Bear. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
All right, tomorrow morning I'll make the call and he can get his current numbers, get us locked in, and he'll send the contract again, and I'll get it off to Paul just to double check and make sure everything's good. But as of right now, he can lock us in tomorrow when I call. OPWC application was submitted for the wastewater replacement project from the water treatment plant to Mud Creek, or Mad River. I get confused.
One of those bodies.
Yeah, one of those. The subcommittee met and they did agree with our project. They awarded us 6 additional points to get us to 80. So now it goes to the executive committee in September. And just like Lewis was saying, pretty much what the subcommittee decides, because that's what their job is, they pretty much get funded. So he's pretty much telling us that they're 99.9% funded.
It's a
Good project.
strong likelihood.
Yeah.
Good project.
So that's good news, because that's indefinite repair. So let's see here. The 14-foot depth section of Enon Road there, just north of the first entrance there, or just south of the first entrance, between the 2 entrances, is going to be dug on Thursday. So Jason will be here to help assist on watching that. They're going to be going under our line, and it's going to be interesting going that deep. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully nothing tragic happens, but I have all faith in the employees. I mean, after Ohio Edison drilled through a 8-inch plastic line there on Hunter Road, the turn there, and the employees jumped right in. They knew what to do, and we were all out there turning the water off. We had the water off in a matter of minutes. And I want to give a shout out and a big thanks to the employees for being able to do their job and knowing where the valves are at, with the help of Jason, going over everything before he left on vacation and stuff. That was a real help. But it was amazing how everybody jumped in. And then also want to thank the county for, we called the county to come out and to help repair it, basically, in our time of need. So they were out there probably, time he got his crews around, they were probably out there in about an hour. So I think the water was only shut off for a couple hours. So that was very surprising. Steve and Wayne went out and delivered boil notices, and then Steve went back out and delivered the lift notices for the boil advisory. And he was saying everybody was real pleased with the communication and the cooperation of everybody. So I'm very impressed how everything went. So
Good job, good job.
I echo that, and when you know that you got a project like this coming on and you take the time to show your staff where the valves are at, you go over the water lines, even though you weren't in town, Jason, you know, they made it happen, and, but it pays off, and that's what you do. It is very time consuming, but I don't think anybody anticipated Ohio Edison. I think we all anticipated all the other work that was going to cause us trouble, and then this came out of nowhere and surprised everybody. But you're still prepared, so nice job.
all the trainings and
Yes.
meetings with the staff and the employees in times like this work. So yeah, I'm very impressed.
Communication helps.
Communication is key.
Key.
You're right. So, the last thing on my list here, the Ian Young, the Eagle Scout, started the Gaga Ball pit. Got that dug out today, so he's in the process of getting all that stuff rounded up and continue with that. So, I was out there with Doug. He was digging it, and Ian had his mom out there and his grandpa out there. His grandpa evidently was he's a retired construction worker, so he was out there kind of showing him the ropes and kind of letting him do it, but he was kind of explaining to him, which was really neat, really neat. So I think with all that help, it's going to be a good project. So, and I think that's all I have for now, Mayor.
Questions for our administrator? Okay, good report. Thank you. Let's go to committee reports, and Mrs. Sweet, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
We are polite around here if nothing else, right? Okay. We had our public service committee meeting, and we, the members were our council members on the committees, Jeremy and Ben, Mr. Whitaker and Mr. Bier, and our staff that was with us was Chief Holler, Administrator Mr. Seifert, and myself. The topic of discussion was pay scale and compensation of employees. Our Chief Holler and Mr. Seifert discussed wages with the committee. The question was asked if all employees were in the middle of their ranges, could the village afford it? And the fiscal officer was contacted by the administrator, and we have the answer to that. There was a discussion about the administrator assistant position to become a salaried position, a discussion only. Discussion about separating zoning position from the administrator or giving a stipend for that duty. And then we asked what the difference was between a stipend and a bonus, which we have the definitions of those two now. We made adjustments to suggested pay scale to present to council, and we adjourned at that point. You see in your package the recommendation for salary ranges. These were in part put together by Mike, I believe, with his,
From the
not this Mike, the other one. Yeah,
from the Ohio
yeah,
plan, yeah.
yes. And what you have in front of you is basically what we have decided would work well with us. The, what's it called? The middle of their ranges are approved by our fiscal officer. We can maintain those. There is one change that we would like to see made in this printing. One of the employees is 20 cents over the high, so we want to raise him to, do you want me to be specific, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
Okay. The Special Projects Coordinator, who is our water treatment operator of record, Steve Durrell, he currently makes $30.20 per hour, and the high right now is $30 per hour, so we want to raise that to $31, which gives his high salary $64,000, and he is part-time, obviously, and he works approximately 25 hours per week. Everyone else is pretty much at the same. If they work the middle, we have two, Steve being one, and our fiscal assistant administrator, who is at the high of her pay scale too, but that, we don't want to change that at this point in time. So if there are any questions for me, or if any of my committee members, either of them want to add anything, Mr. Mayor?
Question, please. On the police officers, that range 42,000 to 52,000, acceptable range? according to the chief?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he was okay
He
with
was
it.
okay with it. Yep.
He felt it was comparable to other agencies with the thought that, you know, there's gonna be some officers that are still going to want to be county deputies or OSPs or any of the other bigger agencies. He felt that was a acceptable range for the village of Enon.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'll just go ahead and give you the definition we were discussing about bonus and stipend. A bonus is something extra that's good, that is done, something that's done good that's extra for that. A stipend is a fixed payment, generally small and occurring at regular intervals, a modest allowance. So those are our definitions. So are there any other questions by the council? And I don't know if you want to,
Do you want to approve these, your minutes for the committee?
oh, yeah,
Oh,
but,
okay.
yeah, yes, please.
Yeah, I'll move that we accept the
Accept the
minutes
minutes.
as presented with the one change that was on there.
Okay,
I will second.
And this would be the committee only, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. So those are approved. Just let me say thank you for the work that you've done. It's been a lot longer than what we anticipated. There's been a lot of hands, a lot of eyes on it, and I appreciate it. It's been a long time coming, but thank you for the work. I appreciate it very much. Are you ready to propose this for council's approval tonight?
I think so, unless you want more of council here, all of us here, I don't see the need.
Unless there's I don't know that there's an absolute need to pass it tonight. Myself, I think we
Okay.
already raised the police officer
We
pay,
did- we
which
did
is
do that
really the
already.
only one that I can think of that,
Was most critical.
right?
Okay.
I mean, I would rather have Paul and
Okay.
Rick be able
So-
to weigh in if they want to.
Good idea.
Since we
I-
just
no, I
came up
agree.
with that.
Yeah, that's
These
why
would
I
go
said,
into effect, what, in January, or would they can go into effect at any time?
Anytime the council wants. Yep.
Okay.
I'm saying, so,
That's just my thought.
I just. yeah.
Good idea.
I agree, I mean, I just,
Yeah, I'd be
As long as there
uncomfortable.
wasn't anything pressing. Like I said, the only one I could think of was the part-time officer, which
You already
we
made
took
that
care of.
change.
We
Right.
made that
We
change
Last
took
month.
care of that
specifically.
already.
Right.
as evidenced by the board out front. Okay, thank you. That
Very
was
good
the end
work.
of my
Thank
report.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other committee reports? We have no old business, new business comments from our public. Well, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Sweet, seconded by Mr. Bear. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
7:37.
Same sign.